All right, so 5.6, the last section, ASA and AAS congruence. So we've had SSS and SAS congruence so far, which stood for side, 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 and side, angle, side. So today we're covering ASA and AAS, which will stand for angle, side, angle, and angle, angle, side. So this is basically what you do if you know two of the angles on your triangle that are congruent to each other. So here we go. Let's make that bigger. So angle, side, angle, and angle, angle, side congruence. Okay. So it might sound like these two things are the same. They're dealing with two angles and one side in each case. What matters is the order of the letters here. So it's two angles and the included side for one of them, and it's two angles and a non-included side for the other one. So we're going to start with ASA. Angle, side, angle, congruence postulate. So in order to have angle, side, angle congruence, you need to show S. It goes that direction. So for this, we need to show two pairs of congruent angles and their included side. So in order to have angle, side, angle, I've got a triangle like this, and I know something about these two angles. It needs to be the included side, so the side that's in between the two angles. All right, so that's the important thing with angle, side, angle. You need two angles, and you need the side that's in between them. So we'll do a couple examples of how we might see angle, side, angle real quick. Okay, so the first example is going to be an example kind of like you might see on IXL. Where we've got some triangles going. And so we have to decide which two of them are congruent and write a congruent statement. Okay. So what we want to notice here is we do have on all three of these two angles that are the same. We have two arcs in one of them and one arc in the other on all three. But that's where the similarities end. We've got two lines in the side here, two lines in the side here, two lines in the side here, but on one of them, it's not the included side. On this one, it goes angle, angle, side instead of angle, side, angle, like it does on this one. So that means that these are the two that we are using. So since that's the case, remember, just like with last time, it doesn't matter which letter order you write on the first one, as long as the second one matches it. So if I want to go ACB for my first one, I can. But on my second one, I need to make sure it matches. And the nice thing with ASA and AAS is that it's really easy to match up the letters based on the angles that go together. So angle A over here has two arcs in the corner. Angle H also has two in the corner. So H would come first. Then I went to C. C has one, I has one. So I comes next. And then G comes last. So we have ACB and HIG. So that's one instance where we might see angle side angle used. Okay. Another example with angle side angle. We could see a picture like this. And we might be asked, is, let's see, PRQ congruent to RPS? And how do you know? So this is another one of those ones, kind of like the ones that we did on, I believe it might have been Monday, where you have to take a look at it and go, okay, is there anything else that I need to label? Do they share a side? Is there vertical angles? What's going on here? And in this case, they are sharing a side, particularly this one. So then we have to think to ourselves, okay, do we have enough info for angle side angle or angle angle side or anything like that? And it turns out that we do, because we have angle side angle, angle side angle. It's the side that's in between your two angles on both triangles. So we can say yes, by angle side angle, they are congruent. And then if we were going to list how do you know? Well, we would say from labels already in the picture, we know angle QPR, this one right here, is the same as angle SRP, this one right here, because they both have those double arcs in the corner. And then we also know angle QRP, this one with one arc in the corner, is the same as angle RPS with one arc in the corner. So that's what we know from what was already labeled in the picture. And then we also know from the reflexive property that PR, the side that they share, is congruent to PR. So that's how we know. Okay. So that's all we have to do for that one. We just call out the things that are congruent that we knew from the picture. Okay. Any questions with either of those two examples? Okay. After this one, we are going to move on to angle, angle, side, which is very similar. And we're going to do the same types of questions with angle, angle, side. It's just recognizing the difference. Okay, so the next one, AAS, angle, angle, side, congruence, postulate. Okay, so for angle, angle, side, we need to show something very similar to angle, side, angle. We need to show two pairs of congruent angles and a non-included pair of sides. Okay. So this is the same idea, except one of the sides is not included. It's not the one that's in between the two angles. So the picture that we get for this, you could have something like this where we know a pair of sides, or angles, I mean. We know the other pair of angles, and then we know one of the sides that's not the side that's in between. Or if we had the same picture like this, so these sides would be non-included sides. And those non-included sides would need to be the same and, in the same order and stuff like that. But anyway. Okay, so examples. So our third example of the day, it's going to be kind of one like you'll see on IXL. And we might be asked to write a congruent statement. Okay. And the thing you have to be a little bit careful of here is that the congruent side has to follow the same congruent angle. So if the side that we know has to be the one that's next to the angle with 3, if those are the ones that we're going to, have be congruent to each other, triangle-wise. So looking at this picture, we notice we have an angle with 2 and an angle with 3, an angle with 2 and an angle with 3, an angle with 2 and an angle with 3. So far, so good. Now we just have to narrow it down by the sides. This one has 2, this one has 3, and this one has 2. So that means we're going to pick this one and this one. And then this becomes very similar to the way that we did the angle side angle problem, because when I go to write down the first part of my congruent statement, I can pick either of these triangles with any letter order I like. I'm going to start with this one. I'll go TUS. All right, and then notice angle T had 2 arcs in the corner, so angle over here, angle L had 2 arcs in the corner, so L would come first. U had 3 arcs in the corner, M had 3 arcs in the corner, so M comes next, and then N comes last. So TUS and LMN. So that's our first example with angle, angle, side. And then our last example of the day, and the second example, angle, angle, side, is going to look a lot like example 2 out of the last, on the last page, with the style of problem where you decide, are they congruent, are they not congruent, and then how do we know? It's not a great drawing, but oops, hopefully it's good enough. Okay. Here, I'll finish drawing this picture, and then I'll wait a second, let people finish writing. All right. That's the picture we're going to use. If you're done writing already and you're all caught up with that, try labeling in the picture the other piece of information that we might need. Do we see anything else that we could label? Okay. So for this one, it's going to be a similar question to the last time. Are, or I guess, is triangle AHR congruent to triangle BHS? How do you know? All right. So looking at the picture, is there anything else on there that we need to label? Do we have any shared sides? Do we have any vertical angles? What do we see? Yeah, we've got vertical angles going on right here. Anytime you see crossing lines like this, we should be thinking, okay, vertical angles. That's what we've got. So that means these two angles are the same. So now we have enough info for angle, angle, side. Angle, angle, side. Okay. So now we just have to put down how we know. So again, from labels in the picture that were already there, we know angle A and angle B are congruent because they're both right angles. They're both um, and labeled as being congruent. And then we also knew from the picture that SB and AR are the same because they're labeled as being the same. They both got two little dashes in the side. And then the second thing that we know, we had to put in the picture ourselves, that AHR and BHS, those two angles, are the same. Because they're vertical angles. Okay. So that's all we had to do for that. We had to say yes or no. Are they congruent? How do we know? That sort of thing. Yes, because of angle, angle, side, because we labeled the picture. We had enough stuff in there to show angle, angle, side. Um, so we call out all of the things that we know are congruent, and that's enough to show that we know what we're talking about. Okay. Any questions from either of those two examples? Okay. So today's assignment, we have one IXL section, and it's a lot like the IXL section from last Friday, I believe it was, that we had the K1. This one is K3. So we're going to go through and talk about a couple of the problems that you'll see on there. And then once we're done with that, you guys are free to head on out. So let's take a look in Google Classroom. We have K3 to a SMART score of 80. Okay. So it says, which two triangles are congruent by the ASA theorem? Complete the congruence statement. Okay, so looking at all of these triangles, we notice that these two are about the same size and that this one's a little bit bigger, so it's probably not going to involve this one. But also, this one has one line in the side, and this one both have two. So we're going to do these two. So you can start the first one with any arrangement of the letters that you like. I'm going to go with HJI for mine. And then over here, well, H had 2 arcs and R had 2. So I'm going to go with R. And then J was the second letter. J had 1. Over here, S has 1. So we're going to go with S next. And then lastly, T. So that's the kind of problem that we're going to be expected to do in the IXL section. Remember, you can't always click Learn with an example, and it'll take you through an example before you have to do a problem on your own. All right, and then this one is angle, angle, side. So notice on this one how we have an angle, and a side. Angle, angle, or angle, angle, side. And that these two have 2 lines in the side, 2 lines in the side. This one has only 1 line in the side. So it's probably going to be these two. So then again, you can just go, okay, VWX. And then I have to find the ones that match it over here. So V had no arcs in the corner. C has no arcs in the corner. W has 1. A has 1. And then lastly, the last letter left is B. Okay. So we're going to a SMART score of 80. If you have questions, feel free to stick around and we can do more of them. If you don't have questions, you're free to go and start working on this. I will post an exit ticket later.